good morning, everybody, or should I say good afternoon. Um, Standing where I am, I can see a number of people, and all that they are doing is looking at their mobiles. I am an author by default, not by design. I never wanted in my life to be an author, to write something people would read. I was an accidental author. What do I do for a living? Not anything that has been said by this wonderful lady who talked about what I am, and I'm just a storyteller. And by the way, how many of you in the audience want to listen to a story? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here is a story which started my own career. So I was reasonably good in academics. I went to all the right schools and I did very well academically. And I got a job which one of the best organizations in those times, an MNC called ICI. Now, of course, you will not remember ICI, but if I tell you what ICI used to manufacture, you'll put up your hand and say, yeah, I know this. Savlon. Yes. Everybody knows Savlon. Everybody knows Dulux paints, and I could go on with a lot. It was a fantastic organization, a British organization. They took about 2 days to interview, and I thought that this is the end of all my interviews, the mother of all interviews. Anyways, I got into that organization, and they said, you have to go to this place called Gomia. Now, Gomia is in the heart of nowhere. And this was, in those days, erstwhile Bihar. Now, I have a reputation that if I stay in a place for more than 8 years, the state splits. I did this once when I went to Gomia. The second time I went to Hyderabad and stayed there. The state again split. But back to my story. That's a great question there again. Currently, I'm in Karnataka. I'm in Bangalore. And I keep moving up and down so that all the ills of the past is kind of watered down completely. Back to the story. So I was told that there would be a car waiting for me. In those days, there were no aircrafts which could take there. So I caught a train. I don't know whether you remember those chuk-chuk trains, those locomotives. And if you look outside, you will get a lot of soot in your face. So I took one of those. Fortunately, grand, first class. Now, first class means nothing. It just means it's got a cabin out there, nothing else. And I was a prized management trainee, and I was on cloud 9. I descended from the train. I was waiting for people to pick me up. Nobody came to pick me up. That really, really punctured my big ego. And then I climbed the stairs with a hold on. Yes, you had those kinds of things in those days. Hold on. I mean, you put this down and then you roll this whole thing up. Rather heavy. No escalators, nothing. Got up, came down. And what did I see? I saw a very beautiful blue-colored Peugeot. Beautiful car. And there was this gentleman in a white-colored T-shirt, and he had a brown trouser. And the moment he looked at me, he saluted. And I was telling myself, well, this is getting better. And then I slowly walked up to the car. And as soon as I saw that he was walking towards me, I let the hold all drop to the ground. This driver was short. And by the way, I'm not a very tall guy. So he was short. He came in and he heaved that. He put it into the dicky of the car. And then he started to walk towards the driver's seat. And then what I did was I got into the back seat, slammed the door. And right through that 15-minute journey to the guest house, he kept on asking me a number of questions, and I was not very happy with it. This driver was asking me too many questions and in Hindi. And I was a little annoyed. Anyway, I answered in monosyllables. I reached the place And as soon as I alighted, a couple of people ran towards the car. They saluted me. And I said, hey, this is getting better. Then somebody picked up. And then I went in, and the next day I was supposed to meet the chief executive of that place. The chief executive was a very big guy, very well known in the country. A gentleman called Dr. Shivan Verma. And I was told that he's a very tough man. And there was such a lot of build-up to it, and I was scared to death. 7:30 was the meeting. I was in the office at about 10 minutes prior to that meeting time. Long corridor, wooden all the way, big room. And as soon as I entered, knocking on the door, there was this gentleman, and his face was towards the wall. And I said, good morning, sir. And he turned around, and as soon as I saw him, I said, Are, aap yahan pe kya kar rahe ho? What are you doing here? And then he looked at me and he said, in very British English, he said, Mr. Nathan, please take your seat. I froze. My legs were all jelly. I was looking at him, and I could have cried in that moment. I just couldn't speak. I was speechless. Then, of course, he said a few things. He asked about me. And then, just as I was about to leave, he said, education must never be worn as epaulets on your shoulder. He never referred to this incident ever. We used to have a lot of these parties. This would have been a fantastic topic for him to put me down. He never did that. As I walked away, that was my first lesson in humility. I never forgot that lesson. Never forgot that lesson. And by the way, that is a story, and that is there in the book. One more story? Okay. So this is the story. And by the way, all these stories are not about me. They're always about some person that I've met and so on. But this is one where there was a person who had left the shores of India as a software engineer and gone to Canada. And from Canada, the person had moved to the US, working on some project. And it so happened that this person, I don't know how he got this, he got something called encephalitis, which is called the brain fever. The brain fever means it's something that's just, no cure for it, practically. The US medical profession gave up on this gentleman, and they pretty much told us that it was curtains, it's over. But there was his wife in India who said there must be a way that the person could be cured in India. We have many such cases. So why didn't you get this person over to India? There was a conference call which was scheduled at 12 o'clock at night. Why? Because this was the US time. You had the CEO, the CFO, you named the global chief. I mean, every person at the top of the organization, they were all on that call. And the call was a long call because they said if you have to bring him to India, you have to bring the person in an air ambulance. Air ambulance means you cannot be in the air for more than 6 hours at a stretch. And it is going to cost you a bomb. In those days, it would take almost like a little more, close to $1 million those days. And then it went on, and there was no guarantee that the person would survive. The call was for an hour. 58 minutes had passed. It was almost certain. Everybody decided that this was over for this person, and we are just going to put the person in hospice, and the person, if the person is going to lose his life, then we would just bring the body back to India. And just when the whole thing was going to go and the decision is going to be taken, there was a voice that spoke up. The voice said, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, This person, if the person had remained in India, that person would be alive. The person went to the US because the person was a good soldier. He was just following instructions. He went on to this battlefield of information technology and really doing a good job. He fell ill. He got wounded. And wounded when he was working for the organization. And therefore, it is important for us to bring the soldier home. There is every possibility that in India, there is something that could have happened to that person. Maybe he would live. Why don't we chance it? It is important that we bring the soldier home. And as soon as he said this, there was silence. Almost for a minute, nobody spoke. People thought that there was a bridge that had collapsed. And then suddenly the CEO spoke and he says, I think that is right. He was a good soldier. So, let's bring the soldier home. Hey, fast forward. All that happened was the person was put on an aircraft. They had this air ambulance. The person came to India, went straight to one of the top hospitals in Delhi. 7 months later, Amit went back to work. Amit went back to work. His wife accompanied him to the office. It was a tumultuous reception at the office. I will never forget this story. I will never forget this story because it is important for somebody to speak up. It is very important for somebody to speak up at the right time, at the right place. That courage and conviction that it takes, regardless of who is in the room, is important. I feel very privileged because that voice that spoke up that day is speaking to you today. So, these are some of the life stories. I'm not saying that this is the be-all and end-all, and I'm sure that all of you have a lot of stories. My time is up, so I got to get there and hopefully share some more stories. Thank you very much.